Hi, it's Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Come with blog posts we want to share with you. And of course, we review the latest in social media and technology. We're doing one of our phone versus comparisons here. And be sure to check into the ChrisVossShow.com email list and our YouTube channel, subscribe, so you get all the latest and coolest stuff that we're doing sent to your email. We do have all the major carriers sending us their phones, so be sure to stay tuned and sign up so you can get those notices. What we're doing is comparing today the Verizon Wireless, VerizonWireless.com, that's VerizonWireless.com, Motorola Droid Razr M. It took me there for a second. The Motorola Razr M, and against the Virgin Mobile. This is you can find them at virginmobileusa.com. That's virginmobileusa.com. This is their LG Optimus Elite phone. Of course, we do these comparisons because you have one of the devices and you want to see how they compare, or maybe which one you want to upgrade to buy. You can get a good idea as to what sort of changes you'll be getting and making. So let's get into the details of both these devices. They're very good devices. We played with both of them. They have their little own strengths in their own ways, if you will. You can see here that on the Droid Razr M, it has a height of 4.82 inches, 2.39 width, 0.33 thickness, with a weight of 4.44. It has an operating system that runs on the Android 4.04 ice cream sandwich. Processor is a dual-core processor, 1.5 gigahertz with 1 gigabytes of RAM. Has 8 gigabytes internal memory and supports up to 32 gigabytes of micro SD expandable card. Display is a 4.3 Super AMOLED advanced display, QHD resolution, 960 by 540, and it has a battery of 2,000 milliamps. With the camera, it has a back camera of an 8 megapixel camera, and also has a front-facing camera, 0.3 megapixels, with 720 HD video recording out the front, 1080p video out the back, HD of course. And on the LG, let's talk about the LG in comparison. The LG is a height of 4.58 inches, 2.47 in width, 0.39 in thickness, 4.25 ounces, and has a 1300 milliamp, it looks like a 1520 milliamp lithium battery. There's some different models that are out there from different carriers, but this one has 1520. The display is LCD color TFT resolution, 320 by 480 pixels, 3.5 diagonal screen, 16,024-bit color. Android is 2.3 gingerbread, so it's a little bit older. Processor is an 800 megahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S2. Memory is 4 gigabytes of internal storage, 1 gigabyte internal storage available to the user, and 512 megabytes of RAM. It has a back camera of 5 megapixels, no front-forward camera, just VGA resolution on this, or WVGA resolution, 480p, and it also has an expandable memory card on it for expandable up to 32 gigabytes. The one thing it also varies in difference to the Motorola. The Motorola is a 3 and 4G phone, which will work on 4G LTE speeds. The Virgin Mobile will only work on 3G speeds, so that's one limitation you do run into with both devices. Some people like the Virgin Mobile service because, well, many people actually like the Virgin Mobile service from what we've seen on our comments and people that see our videos. What you get with that service, you pay for the phone largely up front, and in doing so, you take and get a reduced bill on a monthly basis, and you get some unlimited callings, and you don't have a 2-year contract. Where with Verizon, you end up usually with a 2-year contract. You usually get a much discounted phone that's much more expensive, but you end up paying a pretty good sized bill over the next 12 months to 24 months, depending upon which plans you choose. So there is that, and that's of course for you to decide. Of course, we're not comparing carriers here as to which is better, which is worse. It really is up to you, your preference, and your budget. So let's take a look at both these devices. Across the top, we have the Motorola thing. I think there's a small inlet for the speaker from what we can tell. We're not really sure, but it appears there's a small little inlet there with the speaker for making calls. Front-facing camera, you've got your back button, your home button, and your recent apps button. With the Virgin Mobile, you're looking at a small speaker at the top for making calls and listening in. You've got your home button, your menu button, a back button, and a search button that you can take and utilize. They both have like I said, this is the 4.0 version with the Virgin Mobile. It's running on Gingerbread, which is a different version, of course, and an older version of the Android software. It looks like we go down to up with this device. Now with the Motorola, it has an animated background. If you flip left, you can see here you can easily quickly get into your settings, and then if you flip from right to left, you can page through different things. Of course, you can always, with all these Android devices, adjust to widgets and customizations, folders, all that cool stuff. One thing the Motorola Razr does have is it has a live animated background. You can choose several different devices to do that with, or several different formats to do that in. You can, of course, do other things like changing the widgets and all that good stuff. One other cool thing it does have that we like is when you switch between the app screens, you can see here as it pull up to the side and drop down to the side as you page through the menus. Kind of a cool animation, if you will, that just kind of makes the feature seem a little bit better in your experience. So that makes it really nice. Let's take a look at both devices on the back. On the back of both devices, you can see here that we have you have the camera eye, you have the lamp flash, and the speaker. We were first worried about the speaker when we first got it because it seemed to be face down, and if you put it, like say, on a desk, maybe it wouldn't come out as well in sound. But it actually performs very well. It's a very loud speaker. It's got a beautiful, nice back to it. It has here we have a small mirror on the LG that you can use to see if you're in the picture, and a camera eye, and then the lamp flash, and pretty much that's it for the back, other than the fact that it does pop off, and in doing so you're able to change the battery, of course, and you can also insert a micro SD card right there to be able to do all the fun stuff you want to take and do. Okay, now on the right hand side of the Virgin Mobile, LG, and the Motorola Razr, you can see here we have it's hard to see, but it's a volume rocker button right here. We also have a power button there. Nothing to see really down the right side of the Virgin Mobile. We'll flip these babies around so you can take a look at them. And with the Razr, what you're looking at is a micro USB port to plug and sync. You've got a volume rocker up and down on the on the Virgin Mobile device. What you also have on the Motorola is a place for your SIM card, and also a place for your micro SD card for expandable memory. Okay, so now here you can see with both devices, the bottoms of them, there's not really much on the bottom because it angles downward on a Motorola, but there's a small microphone hole there, small microphone hole here for the LG, and on the charging device, charging sync area, we have a small micro USB port. Let's go ahead and flip these two around, and on them you can see here that we have a earphone jack on the top of the Motorola. We have a power button and a small earphone jack. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this. Now, notifications wise, you've got your notifications here. The drop-down menu is fairly similar, nothing really special to see here. Let's take a look at speed tests. We want to see how well each device performed on speed tests, and we're going to be pulling this, of course, from the results. So if you do notice that the Wi-Fi is on both these devices, you don't have to write me and tell me that. Now you can see here the speed test results we got on the Motorola Verizon came in very well, very strong. It's a very powerful device, so it can get data very quickly and very fast. Here we have the speed test results of the Virgin Mobile. Now keep in mind these are 3G speeds from Virgin Mobile that run on the Sprint network. So you can see the results of what we got there. It's a good little phone. For cruising the internet and stuff like that, you may want to go with a phone that has a 4G LTE speeds, but it's really up to you and what you need and what you're trying to accomplish, maybe with your budget in your life. This definitely makes a great phone for a young person who you may want to make sure their bill does not get out of control. So here you can see the Geekbench 2 scores on both these. 1437 for the Motorola, 1486 for the LG. You can see here, of course, much difference in the gigahertz size of the processors, and that really helps make the difference here. You can see the integer performance breaks down here. You can pause this at any time if you want to see the numbers as we go through them. But you can see here the Motorola definitely is a very strong device in being able to do what it do, and the LG holds its own probably in its own right and category. Okay, so here we can see the detailed scores as to how each device did with the amzn.to benchmark software 2.9.2 against the Elite at 3138. You can see the detail breakdown of the RAM, CPU integers, all that sort of good stuff. Okay, so this is the Passmark performance test. You can see here with both devices, the Motorola came in at 1,956 against 1,073. The CPU test came out at 1,268 for the Virgin Mobile, against a CPU test on the Motorola of 5,183. This test on the Motorola 2,554 as compared to this test on the Virgin Mobile 1614 against 2016 memory test on the Motorola 1307, and on the 2D graphics test 1909 on the LG. And with the Motorola, you're looking at 2348, and 3D graphics test 629 on the Motorola and 455 on the Virgin Mobile. Okay, so here we can see this is the Passmark, this is actually the Quadrant Standard benchmark that we're doing for both these devices. You can see how they both scored, and it gives us a graphical measurement here. Sometimes they seem to vary depending upon what OS is on each system. You can see the device, the Motorola Razr, scored 4717 against the LG, which scored 1959. You can see some of the total scores down here, and pause the video if you so choose to see those. Alright, so here we can see some of the color tests between the two devices, and you can see the Motorola comes in with a much richer green, blues, reds, magentas. On the Olympus, it's good colors, but the green almost looks like a greenish yellow, almost kind of sickly, light green, if you will. The reds, the blues, and the magenta comes in fairly good. The green just seems to struggle a little bit, so does the light blue. So, definitely some strengths from one phone to the other. Okay, here you can see the Velamo scores. These things go through multiple tests on the devices. You can see the HTML 1691, and the HTML came out at 712 on the Velamo. It came out on the Metal 550 against 252. Now the Velamo will run SunSpider scripts and a lot of different things to give us browser HTML stuff, so we don't usually do the SunSpider on a separate thing since it's included in the Velamo score. Okay, here we're doing what's called the billion counter test, and what this does is test to see how fast each device can process and count all the way to a billion. Did it in 25.58 seconds on the Motorola, 57.94 seconds on the Virgin Mobile. Okay, so here you can see the benchmark in both devices. This is using the amzn.to 3D benchmark. It scored 3608 for the Motorola, 2925 for the LG. Okay, so here we can see the GPS test. This tests how well each device can pick up GPS satellites around the world and how accurate it can get within feet. You can see here that the Motorola is picking up 18 to 17 in view, 9 in use. It's picking up much more satellites than, of course, the Virgin Mobile. LG is picking up 18 in view with only 8 in use. It's getting a good accuracy. For some reason, we're stuck at 30 feet right now with the Motorola. We've seen it go down to 10, so we're not sure what issues it's running into right now, but there you are. Okay, so here we can see with each device, this is the benchmark for the KFC benchmark that basically benchmarks several different ways to get an overall score of frames per second. The overall frames per second on the LG were 25.285 and 40.864 on the on the Motorola. Okay, so you can see here, this is the SQL RL benchmark, and what this does is test several different things that your phone may do, different inserts, making tables, things of that nature, indexes, things that basically will take and give us a score on each device. The faster this, of course, is, the better. The Motorola did it in 26.94 seconds. The Virgin Mobile did it in 115.308. Okay, so here you can see we have the AND-E bench for the Motorola and the Virgin Mobile. Tests that we've taken done, the AND-E came in at 5189 for the threads, for native threads, and on the native threads on the Virgin Mobile we came out with 1383, on the Java 142 against 56. Okay, so the Motorola's got a great camera. It's got a really fast shutter. I really enjoy using it. It's fun to play with. For some reason, it just seems to be more responsive to the camera. It's got a great screen, of course, to work from. You've got your zoom in and out. You've got your area for your albums up here. It's got most of the same menu you'd find on an Android. You've got your settings here where you can do different things with shutters and stuff like that. You've got effects that you can take and add on here. You've got scenes that you can take and do. You've got modes you can do. You've got exposure, and then you've got your flash you can control. And then what's nice is you can just swipe and get rid of this little adjustment bar here, which is really nice. And of course you can get the focus and all that good stuff. Now you can easily switch between video and your shutter for your camera. You can easily switch from front to back, and you've got your shutter button here in both cases. It's a great little camera. I really enjoyed it. Let's take a look at some of the pictures we got. Now, one thing we really noticed about the camera, well, I'll get to that in a second. You can see here's a picture of a flower that we took. The light's a little rough during the day that we took that picture. Here's an outdoor picture that came out pretty well. Video-wise, the video comes out really well. Great blues, greens, everything is pretty much what it should be and how it works. Great camera. I mean, is it the best camera in the world? I'm not sure. You'd have to do some comparison testing, but it's a good camera. Now, this is one thing we always do. We always shoot my floor because some cameras jack up the yellow, blues, and greens to artificially adjust the brightness in the pictures and make them look like the pictures are cooler. This actually takes an accurate picture of the colors on my floor. What's even cooler is the video also takes an accurate picture also. So we're very impressed by that it's not having its software manipulating its colors. The low light pictures of camera, this is taken completely in the dark with the flash. You can see here it takes a great photo without blowing out the photo. One thing we were super impressed with, and I started talking about this earlier, is its low light lamp ability. It has a brilliant lamp on it that takes great dark pictures. This is completely in the dark, and you can see it does a great job of lighting up not only the local area really close, but pretty much the whole area that we were working in. So we're really surprised that something as thin and small has that great of a lamp. So really blown away. You can hear me say wow on the tape there. So yeah, great little camera on the Motorola. I was very impressed with it. Be sure to check that out on the deal. Okay, so let's talk about the camera on the Elite. On the Elite, it has much of the same customization features that you would have on most Androids. You've got a zoom in and out here. You've got a ability to change your ISO formats, your exposure, frame rates, +1, +2, f1 stop, if you will, all that good stuff. You have auto settings you can take and do for different scenes, and you have your ability to change your lamp on and off or your flash on and off, either way. You can adjust image size, ISO, white balance, color effect, shutter sound, auto review, tag location, all these different things that you can do on your device and do that there. You've got up here your tags, which will show you where you can switch between video. You can choose long video or MMS video if you want to just send short text messages. And then you have your shutter button here. In the area of photos of what we've taken so far in photos, it's a good camera for a 5 megapixel. Let's take a look at what we have here. What we have here is a well lit situation. Takes an accurate photo, great photo color, and you can still see the lines very good. And it's accurate to the color of the floor. We use these to test how well the browns come out in yellow, blues, and greens. So it comes out very well. Here's a situation where we're taking a low light photograph, and you can see here it illuminates the product fairly well. You can see that we've got pretty good definition as to what's on the image, if you will, and it lights it up fairly well. We kind of have like a core circle that it's picking up. Let's take a look at how well this looks like. We're getting some. I have so many phones, I don't know which way we're going half the time with these phones. Here you can see a video of the phone, and you can see it's much darker, of course, in the video than in the pictures it's taking. This is here the most accurate color of our floor. But you can see it takes good videos. There's nothing wrong with them. Here's a low light situation where it takes video. This is the one place where it really struggled with the lamp in taking a low light video situation. So one place where it pretty much failed to take a good low light situation. The back lamp
on here just wasn't that great when it came down to video. But it took good photographs, so you do have that as a measurement you can take and use. It's a good camera, let's put it that way.
Now, overall, I've liked both devices. They both have strengths in their own right. You can be sure to check them out at Motorola, Droid, Razr M, VerizonWireless.com. That's VerizonWireless.com. Be sure to tell them Chris Voss sent you. Thanks to them for loaning us the phones. And Virgin Mobile at Virgin Mobile USA. That's Virgin Mobile USA. And be sure to tell them Chris Voss sent you. And thanks to Virgin Mobile for providing the phones for us. Be sure to watch for our future videos. We have all the major phone carriers sending us phones. And you want to see the latest, coolest, and greatest stuff coming out. Take and subscribe to the ChrisVossShow.com email list and also our YouTube channel so you can get all the latest and greatest stuff. Thanks for coming by and spending some time with you. See you next time.